Welcome to a new journey of understanding and wisdom on Lifelesson TV. Have you ever found yourself plotting revenge on someone who you feel has wronged you? It's a human instinct to retaliate when we feel we've been hurt or wronged. But have you ever stopped to ponder the moral implications of such actions and the possible consequences in your own life? Could the pursuit of vengeance lead us down a path of self-destruction? This is a question worth considering as we delve into the story of a woman whose life was consumed by the pursuit of revenge. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Meet Alice Davidson, a woman who dedicated over a decade of her life to a relentless pursuit of revenge. Alice, a once vibrant beauty queen, found herself tangled in a web woven by her own hands. She was driven by a deep-seated grudge against her brother, a grudge that consumed her every waking moment. Alice's brother was her polar opposite, where he was kind-hearted and forgiving, and Alice was evil and vindictive, never letting go of perceived slights. A misunderstanding, a word out of place, a misstep. Alice hoarded these instances, building a case against her brother in the court of public opinion. Her obsession with revenge became her life's mission, turning her from a radiant beauty into a resentful, hideous-looking troll. The seed of revenge that Alice planted grew into a gnarled tree, its roots deep within her, its branches casting a dark shadow over her life. Her mission was clear: destroy her brother's life, no matter the cost. Her hunger for revenge, insatiable and all-consuming, drove her to weave a web of deception so complex it was as destructive as it was beguiling. Alice was the puppet master in this grand spectacle of manipulation, stringing along her words like daggers, each one aimed to shatter her brother's reputation. Her whispers weren't mere gossip, but venomous lies that tainted the image of her brother, transforming him into a creature of monstrous proportions. Alice was by no means confined to the realm of idle rumors. She transcended this, overstepping the sacred bounds of personal space and driving wedges between her brother and his girlfriends. She planted seeds of doubt and trepidation, making his co-workers and friends question his character, his girlfriends doubt his sincerity. The professional sphere was not out of her reach either. She spun tales of unprofessionalism and dishonesty, painting her brother as unreliable, untrustworthy, and undeserving. She even manipulated his landlords into seeing him as a threat. But Alice's thirst for retribution was not quenched with just tearing apart her brother's personal and professional life. She craved to see him in the throes of isolation, feeling the piercing sting of being shunned. She whispered her malevolent tales into the ears of anyone who would listen, turning them against her brother. Amidst the ruins she brought upon her brother's life, Alice found her victory. With each setback she engineered, every relationship she shattered, and each opportunity she made to vanish, Alice reveled in his downfall. She watched with delight as his life crumbled and savored the sweet taste of her victory. However, in her tunnel vision focus on her brother's downfall, Alice was blind to the havoc her vengeance was wreaking on her own life. While Alice was busy plotting her brother's downfall, her own life was spiraling out of control. While she was consumed with her vengeful tactics, she overlooked the reason why destruction was happening in her own life. In a cruel twist of fate, Alice became entangled in a series of unfortunate events. She was once a woman of radiant beauty akin to a beauty pageant queen, but her health took a severe toll. She found herself battling cancer, not once, not twice, but on numerous occasions. This dreadful disease ravaged her, transforming her from a picture of loveliness to a shadow of her former self. But cancer was not the only adversary she had to face. Alice found herself in the eye of the storm, quite literally. She experienced the wrath of nature in the form of hurricanes, one after the other, as if the universe itself was warning her of her misdeeds. Yet Alice remained heedless, not connecting these horrendous acts of nature to her own actions. While Alice was grappling with her own demons, her brother's life took a different turn. He was not only surviving, but thriving, untouched by Alice's malicious plots. He remained in pristine mind, body, and spirit, and went on to achieve success, rising like a phoenix from the ashes of Alice's destructive schemes. Alice's brother's triumph was a stark contrast to her own life, which was crumbling down. She was left alone, battling numerous illnesses, a stark reminder of her revengeful actions. She was no longer the beautiful, vibrant woman she once was. Instead, she was a mere shell of her former self, a physically impaired woman whose life was marked by suffering and regret. Revenge, it seems, had taken a toll on Alice, not her brother. She was the architect of her own downfall, the victim of her own plot. She was left in her suffering, a painful testament to the futility of her vengeful tactics. The irony was not lost on Alice, who was left to rue her choices, her life a poignant reminder of the destructive power of revenge. Alice, who once carried the aura of a beauty pageant queen, now bore the visage of a troll, repugnant to the eye. Her radiant health had crumbled under the weight of numerous battles with cancer, each one taking a toll, each one leaving her a bit weaker, a bit more broken. Her once vibrant life was now marred by disasters and ailments, a series of unfortunate events that seemed to mirror her decaying spirit. And what of her brother, you may ask? Despite the relentless attempts to tarnish his name and ruin his life, he emerged unscathed. His spirit remained untarnished, his resolve unbroken. He bore no signs of the torment Alice had intended for him. Instead, he thrived. His mind, body, and spirit were in pristine health, a stark contrast to Alice's deteriorating existence. He went on to find success, to build a life that was a testament to his resilience and strength. Her life had become a series of plots and schemes, each one more destructive than the last, each one pulling her further into the abyss of her own making. And now Alice is left to bear the brunt of her actions. She is left to grapple with the aftermath of her revenge. A life that was once full of promise and beauty is now reduced to a series of illnesses and hardships. She is left to face the stark reality of her actions, a grim reminder of the destructive power of revenge. So, what can we learn from Alice's story? Alice Davidson, a woman driven by vengeance, became a puppet of her own wrath. Her story isn't a tale of triumph or redemption, but a warning about the destructive consequences of revenge. Alice's thirst for retribution consumed her, leading her down a path filled with hardships and pain, a path that ultimately led to her own undoing. Alice's revenge was targeted at her own brother, a man who, despite Alice's attempts to ruin, managed to rise above it all. He remained untouched, his spirit unbroken. The more Alice tried to hurt him, the more she seemed to hurt herself. Her actions didn't bring her satisfaction or peace. They brought her misery. Alice's story is a stark reminder of the old adage, what goes around comes around. She embarked on a decade-long journey of vengeance, only to find herself faced with numerous battles with cancer, natural disasters, and a life filled with hardship. Her once radiant beauty faded into a shadow of her former self. Alice became a living testament to the idea that the universe has its own way of delivering justice. But there's more to Alice's story than just the consequences she faced. It's also a lesson in the futility of revenge. In her quest to destroy her brother, Alice lost sight of the person she once was. She traded her health, her beauty, and her peace of mind for a vendetta that yielded nothing but pain. In the grand scheme of things, Alice's brother was the one who emerged victorious. Not because he engaged in the same vengeful tactics as Alice, but because he chose not to. He didn't let Alice's actions define him. He moved on, he became successful, and he retained his peace of mind. Alice's story serves as a cautionary tale, a lesson that revenge isn't the solution to our problems. It doesn't bring closure, it doesn't right wrongs, and it certainly doesn't bring peace. Revenge is a poison that seeps into our lives, slowly but surely consuming us from the inside out. The moral of Alice's story is not just about the destructive consequences of revenge, but also about the power of forgiveness and resilience. It's about understanding that the universe has its own way of delivering justice. We are not the arbiters of justice. And when we try to assume that role, we often end up hurting ourselves more than we hurt others. Revenge is a dish best not served at all, for the universe has its own way of delivering justice. Alice's story serves as a poignant reminder of this truth.